Hey, Deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Geoffrey and Varya on 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. Let's get to it.
I remember you came back and you were upset, and I didn't know why. And then now I know.
It's not something worth bragging about. Yeah, I go to Russia to meet the girl of my dreams, and I end up asking her to marry me after this huge, awesome vacation, and she tells me no.
Wow.
I didn't say no. I say not now.
Not.
You can't spell not now without no.
You said not now, which is basically no. And I told you when I was leaving, listen, I'm done. I'm moving on with my life, and it just so happens that Mary fell into that.
Okay, so I'm glad they're having a conversation about that. That he's saying, you said no, and she says, I didn't say no, I said not now. And it wasn't like not now, it was a very loving not now, at least from my perception. So hopefully they have more of a conversation around that, because mostly I want to figure out what's going on in Geoffrey's mind as to why he did that. Was he so hurt in an exaggerated way, and that's why he did what he did? I want to know more information.
Do you think it's normal to propose somebody and extremely fast change your mind and then to move on?
I think that's dependent on each person. And maybe
if
you
you're ready
don't
to
have
spend the rest of your life with somebody, if you're ready to bring the ring to propose, and then just, I'm done, okay?
I mean, she brings up a good point. I don't know if Geoffrey's friends are really going to fully understand without having seen the scene that we saw, which was that she didn't just say no or not now in a cold fashion. She said not now, like not now, but very soon. It almost seemed like she was saying, give me another couple weeks or something. So I'm guessing the friends aren't going to really feel that because they weren't there.
I feel awkward. Very awkward, actually.
I will say that Geoffrey's friends are not grilling her the way that Varya's friends were grilling Geoffrey. I mean, I just thought that scene was just uncalled for, the way that they were grilling him and making... now, some of you out there might say, like, well, Geoffrey deserved it because he is a jerk face because of the allegations against him. But when I was watching that, I don't like those scenes where they set up this scenario on the show where the friends just interrogate the person from the other country. It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem rational, and it seems like bullying in some ways.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
What a surprise. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't believe this girl is here. She doesn't want to let him go. That irritates me. She wants a war, she will get a war.
Oh, this show.
I brought Mary into this. Of course I care for Mary. I care for her a lot. She's one of my best friends, and I don't know that it's going to go anywhere with Varya, but I hope that Mary will accept whatever I choose. I don't want to lose our friendship. I'm just so confused at what I should do. Let's go hang out. Let's do this, okay?
Again, I just feel so bad for Mary. I just feel so bad for her. I will say that it's one of those situations that you just find yourself in sometimes where you're getting dumped in one of the worst ways, or you're being treated in a way that you just wish you weren't being treated. But on the other hand, from Geoffrey's standpoint, in his heart anyway, he thought that he should leave Varya, and he had seemingly really moved on and was like, well, let's give me and Mary a chance. And then when Varya showed up at his door, it reinvigorated his feelings for her. And so I just think, there's this saying, all is fair in love and war. And I have been saying that phrase, I think, since I was a teenager. And I think that phrase, that idiom, applies here to some extent. Now, some of you might say, well, Geoffrey used Mary, or Mary was stupid for agreeing to date Geoffrey, or Varya is a flip-flopper. But from my standpoint, as a professional observer of romantic relationships, a lot of this behavior just falls under the normal messiness of love and the normal messiness of relationships. I'm suspecting that most, if not all of you, if you really thought about your life, you've been in a number of scenarios like this. Even though you were well-meaning and have a heart, that, these things, they happen. Sadness happens, grief, hurt, anger, and that's part of life. And I just feel really bad for Mary.
So I want to say that I was surprised as much as you. And
you came all the way from Russia and surprised him out of the blue when you turned down his proposal. So why the are you here?
Don't speak with me that way. I will not put up with that. If you want everything good for him, just stay away.
Stay away?
I thought that Varya was, given the way that she approached Mary to sit down and have a conversation, I thought Varya was going to say, I've given it some thought, and I'm sorry, and I just want to let you know that no hard feelings. But now she's threatening her to stay away from him, even though they're friends, and they've been friends longer, I think, than Varya has known Geoffrey. This is a strange tactic. I will say that this is a common feeling and a common impulse that people will have when they are concerned about attachment security. They'll go on the attack, which Varya seems to be doing. I don't know how functional that is. Let's see how this turns out.
Okay, you realize...
He doesn't love you.
No, you're wrong. I've been a constant in his life. You don't know him like I do.
We have plenty of time to get to know each other.
Nah, I give it 6 months, max.
You are not a person who can see the future.
No, you're right.
You
I
are
can't see the future.
Too arrogant.
Arrogance? I'm pretty sure you probably need to go look in that mirror.
Gosh. I will not put up with that. So, yeah. You guys were great. I really enjoy.
Eesh. I always have this impulse of thinking, as a relational therapist, if I was just there, I could have helped them to make that a functional conversation that could have actually been helpful. The other interesting thing that I think people go to a lot is, because you'll see that, like, when another person comes into the life, so you like someone, and then someone else the Marys or whatever come into the situation. The attack often goes after the other woman or the other man, instead of just saying to Geoffrey, like, who do you love? Because I love you and I want you to be with me. And I don't have any problem with this other person because they have good taste, because they love the same person that I love. And I don't have any beef with that person because they haven't done anything unethical. Mary hasn't done anything wrong. So Varya doesn't have any basis for her anger at her to stay away, particularly. So it's an interesting impulse that has always kind of confused me, because if Varya and Geoffrey are strong, then Mary being around shouldn't threaten that. But there's this impulse of, like, stay away, and I don't like you, and I'm going to make sure that you stay away. So I don't know how functional that is in the end. I mean, maybe it's some sort of primitive impulse that we have to fight for our mate. I don't know. I have an impulse to say that it's not helpful, but I don't know. Maybe there is some usefulness to it in the end of mate protection, they call this. I don't know.
Spending time
What
with
happened?
you.
What was said?
Just don't want to stay here anymore.
Varya.
Hearing Varya tell me to stay away, oh, that is the most asinine thing I have heard. That's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know who the she thinks she is. I don't know where things are going to go from here. I don't know if I should just try a different angle. I don't know if I should just walk away and just call it a day. I don't know what he wants, and that just breaks my heart.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. When she showed up, I was like, why is she there? But then, of course, she still loves him. And in her mind, she's thinking, well, just because Varya showed up doesn't mean that me and Geoffrey are done. So I'm gonna give this the old college try. So it makes sense. Yeah, just more pain for Mary. But I don't know, maybe Geoffrey ends up with Mary. Let's find out what happens. And as I always say in each of these videos, normally as a human being, I'm usually pulling for these couples. Not all of them, of course, but I'm usually thinking, oh, if they only did this and this, then they would actually be able to see each other and understand each other and take care of each other and love each other in a way that they both want to love each other. Because as a couples therapist, I just always have that hope. With this couple, or with Mary, I don't know what to think because of the allegations against Geoffrey of horrific intimate partner violence by multiple people, accusations from multiple people. So sometimes I slip into this language of like, oh, if I could only get in there and help them. But then I have to say to myself, I don't know, because I don't know what is really behind the scenes in this story. I don't know if any of these people are ultimately a good fit for each other, or if anyone advisably should be dating Geoffrey unless he gets the treatment that if he is a perpetrator of domestic violence, he should get treatment before he gets into another romantic relationship. Again, they're just allegations, but so I just need to say that.
In Russia, I was happy where things were going. I was happy about my feelings. And I felt like you conveyed the exact same feelings to me. Then I was just kind of bombarded with your answer.
Since you leave Russia, I realized I made a mistake.
Was it a mistake telling me no when I asked you to marry me? What would you say right now if you could go back in time?
Yes.
So that's interesting. I wonder if she's being 100% with that, or if she is saying that because she wants the green card, or if she's saying that because she feels 95%, but she feels like she has to act 100% because she knows if she says 95, then he's going to be hurt again and leave her. I wonder if it's the issue of you always want something, or we have a tendency to want something when we can't have it. Or like I said, legitimate love, and she really has realized that she wants to spend the rest of her life with him. Who knows?
It's just a lot to process. I'm happy to hear Varya say that, but part of me still questions if she realizes how bad she really hurt me. I don't know what to think about this whole situation. I just want to really know if it's right.
I often think, what am I looking for when I am watching a scene like this? And I think what I'm looking for, if I was rooting for this couple, which I'm not necessarily rooting for them, is for him to be very upfront about the hurt that he felt. That he would say something like, so I just want to let you know how hurtful it was to me when you said that you didn't want to marry me, because I was under the impression you really did. And then she would say, well, here were my feelings at the time, and if I knew how much I was going to hurt you, I would have said it differently. I probably still would have said not yet, but I would have really made sure that you understood that I did have tremendous feelings for you. Some kind of conversation around that, and they're not having that conversation. I think they seem, in this scene anyway, to be waiting for the other person to be vulnerable. That's the sense that I get from it.
There's skyscrapers in Russia, I'm gonna guess?
Moscow is huge.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, majorly huge.
It's pretty good to come finally meet you and stuff.
What do you think about her?
It's so weird.
Oh, so I've never been in Knoxville, but it's like they have a Space Needle kind of thing there. That's kind of cool. I've been to other places in Tennessee, though. Memphis, I really loved Memphis. Nashville, of course, is great.
Are you ready to be here for good?
In Russia, I wasn't ready for that decision. Now, I can look at the future and see me with you. How do you see our future?
I feel that I love you. I've always loved you. I've never stopped loving you. You know, I try to cover it up with another woman, but once you were at my door, all these emotions that I'm trying my best to block, they all came up, and they were real.
So under normal circumstances, this would be a really sweet moment, but again, given the allegations, it just taints that whole thing. Now, maybe the allegations aren't true. They seem credible, but who knows? And while I'm on the topic, if you or you know anyone else who is suffering from domestic violence, intimate partner violence, or high control relationships, go to thehotline.org. That's thehotline.org. The website and that organization can help, or they can point you in a direction on how to get help in your area. It's important that if you are suffering from a high control relationship, for your sake, you deserve to be safe, to live a life without abuse. You deserve to live a life without abuse. A lot of people believe they deserve to be abused and that that's their lot in life. That is never the case. Every human being deserves to live a life of safety, security, and respect, and being loved in the way that you want to be loved. You deserve that. And if you don't feel safe, if you feel like you can't really be yourself in a relationship, you deserve to be liberated from that. And the process of liberation, the process of getting safe, is complicated for a lot of people. A lot of people just think, well, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn. And that's normal, because a lot of times the high control abusive person will make sure that you don't have other places to turn, and that any route that you take is more unsafe than staying in the relationship. Maybe there have been threats to the kids, or threats to your family, threats to your finances, threats to your life. And so it's better to stay in the high control than to even attempt to look outside. And that's where organizations, domestic violence, intimate partner violence organizations come in. They've been down this road millions of times. They know what to do. They know to keep the conversations confidential for a while. Like a typical story will be you reach out to a domestic violence advocate, and they'll have conversations with you over the phone, and they'll say, are you safe to talk with me? Give me a signal. Does your partner have access to your phone? Well, let me mail you another phone, or maybe you can email me, or you'll meet me at a park, or something like that. They know how important it is to make sure that you're safe, to be even in conversations with other people. And then they'll start talking with you. What do you want to do? They won't force you, because they know that you can't force people to leave, that you need to, it takes time. And sometimes therapy can actually help the situation. Maybe therapy would help. But you at least need that outward option if you feel like you need to get out sometimes, even if it's just for a few nights. So they work with you on that. Then if you do decide to leave, they talk with you about getting a support system around you. They talk with you about shelters, where it's like a prison, from meaning that you can't get in. And these shelters often are so secret that you can't find them. They're not on Google. And sometimes the people who work there, they can't even tell their spouses where they work, because of the address has to be kept so confident. I've actually, as a therapist, visited these places. And as a man going into these shelters, it was a big deal that they even let me in, because I had a client in one of these shelters. And so They have shelters they'll bring your kids. They'll get social workers. They'll get police officers. They'll get the law involved. They'll get their family, and maybe even the perpetrator's family involved. So the perpetrator's family can come in and support the situation as well. They'll work on that and really try to help. They'll they'll set you up with therapy. They'll set you up with services to help you to build a new life that you have potentially been denied the entire time while you were in the high control relationship. So it's not just something like, well, you just got to leave. You hear that in society. Why did she stay in the relationship? Why did he stick around so long? And that's just ignorance. People just don't have any idea, one, of the actual threats that happened, but two, just the emotional beatdown that you get in a relationship like that. And so it's normal to stick around. It's normal to second guess yourself. It's normal to preserve your life and your kids' lives by staying in a high control relationship when there is a real threat there. So it takes time. And it's a process, and it almost always has to be done within a context of support and services and help, because the high control person knows how to make you feel like you don't have power, but you do have power. Society should be on your side, and when you get connected with the right people, society is on your side, and society is against the abuser. When you get hooked up with the right people, the law is on your side and the law is against the perpetrator. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That is justice. That is social justice. That is relationship justice. And so believe in that. But you have to get connected with the right people. And maybe the journey begins at thehotline.org. You deserve that. You really, really do.
Going down from the mountain.
Varya, I didn't realize how much I truly loved you and how much I truly missed you until you said surprise at my doorstep. I made a wish, and the wish was for you to be a part of my family.
Now, I will say that as I've treated perpetrators before of varying different degrees, people who were charged with assault and had committed really serious crimes, and I will say that I have compassion for everyone, and perpetrators also deserve love. And often, if they are given the corrective experiences through love that they deserve to correct for the abuse that they experienced growing up, they will no longer feel the need to perpetrate abuse anymore. I've been there with people. I've helped abusers to have corrective experiences, to gain attachment security, to learn that their impulses to control are not helping them and are immoral. I've used those phrases. What you did last week is immoral. It's high control. It's hurtful on purpose. I understand where it comes from, but that's just got to stop. We've got to figure out other ways to manage your feelings and for you to communicate your wishes to your spouse. You deserve to have your wishes heard, but not in that way, not in the way that you're doing it. I've had conversations like that with, and they're human beings. We have this stereotype of perpetrators like they're these evil people that just, they wake up in the morning and say like, I'm going to hurt people because I deserve to hurt people. So I will say that if Geoffrey is a perpetrator, of which I have no idea, there are allegations, but I don't know if they are true or not. In my heart, I believe that he deserves love as well. Now, I will say that if we lived in a more aware society, perpetrators would be dealt with much earlier, and if there was less stigma, so perpetrators could actually come forward and get help, then I'm guessing there would be much less of the pattern and of the behavior and of the crimes. Now, for some of you, you might say perpetrators don't deserve anything. Perpetrators should be put on an island and left to die. And if you've been harmed by an abusive partner or an abusive anyone, a parent or a friend, then you are absolutely 100% entitled to your hurt and anger. So I'm not going to take that away from anybody. But as a therapist who has treated people like this, I will say that they do deserve love. They definitely also deserve to recover from whatever it is that causes them to commit the crimes. And the victims deserve not to be victimized.
Will you take this ring and you'll be my wife?
It's yes.
Give me another hug. I'm happy. You make me happy.
We're engaged.
She finally said yes. But I was really kind of worried that I was gonna get another not yet. We're gonna see each other again soon. You have a promise from me on your finger.
All right, well, that does it for their story on the show. I know enough to know that they weren't on the tell-all because the allegations of Geoffrey's abuse came to light to the show. It's interesting that they didn't do enough of a background check, but they found out about it and did not invite him onto the tell-all. And apparently, I think from what I read, Varya also didn't come on the tell-all as well in solidarity with Geoffrey. I'm not quite sure. Actually, let me do a quick Google search because I've avoided a lot of Google searching on all the couples as I'm watching, but let me just do a quick one. Okay, so I did some Googling around to see if I could find any information since the show has come out, and there's a lot of gossip and a lot of conjecture at this point of the recording. Right now, it's like mid-July. This episode will probably air late July, maybe even early August. So maybe there's more information from the time I recorded this to the time that this episode comes out on YouTube. But there was a couple things that I saw. One was that there's a suspicion that he's actually not with Varya, and he might even be with a new person, but there wasn't anything definitive about that. But a interviewer asked Geoffrey why would he try to find a wife in another country? And what he said was something interesting. He said that he has a pattern of fixing people in his perception, that when if he just dates in a normal fashion, he finds people that he needs to fix. And that's interesting. I won't go into all the details, but there are scenarios where two people will fit together where one person will be the high control person and the other person will be the person who gives off the vibe of incompetence. They feel very incompetent and they feel like they need a lot of help, and these two people will sometimes fit well together. It's kind of a classic personality disorder fitting. The way that it fits is the high control person feels very competent, maybe even narcissistic. The person who feels incompetent, they aren't actually incompetent, but they feel very incompetent, will be very dependent. And the way that they become attracted to each other is the high control person will say, well, I want closeness. And one of the ways that you can actually get closeness is when people need each other. And this is actually a functional thing. In a good relationship, you tend to need each other for love, attachment, parenting, help, this kind of thing. But it's mutual. It's not top down. And so the high control person will say, well, this person really needs me because they're very incompetent. So let me fix them. So I don't want to be responsible for them. But the fact that they need me so much makes me feel very secure because I have all these attachment injuries in my past. But it comes at a price. It means that they can't really reverse the roles. They can't become dependent on the other person. But a lot of times the high control person isn't very in touch with their dependent side anyway. And then for the dependent, incompetent, the person who feels incompetent, they'll be attracted to the high control person at first because they'll feel like, oh, I feel so safe around this person. This person is so helpful. They help me out so much, and I want someone who can, take control and be a man and really just help me. And so that's the attraction. But then, of course, it graduates later on into something quite horrible for both people, particularly for the person being controlled, right? So he says that he has a pattern of fixing people. It was just a small little sentence that he said. So I have no idea what that means, but I thought it would be a jumping off point for me to talk about what I've seen clinically in other relationships. But anyway, so that ends that chapter of following Geoffrey and Varya on 90 Day Fiancé. I think that it did give us some opportunity to talk about domestic violence, intimate partner violence. It gave us an opportunity to talk about victim advocacy. It gave us an opportunity to talk about perpetrator treatment and about the sort of personalities that at least I've seen in people who abuse romantic partners. So I think it was worth our time. Let me know what you think. Was it worth our time? Did you learn anything? Was it helpful at all? That's always my hope. That's the only reason why I do these things, is I'm trying to help. I'm trying to make the world a better place through one of the ways that I can, which is to talk about my experience and to look into things like this. So let me know in the comments below, because I truly am interested in that. Or email me. Go to psychologyinseattle.com, click on the Contact Us page. Let me know for you, if you are in an abusive relationship, if you were in an abusive relationship, if you're a former perpetrator, or you have found some questions about your own abusive behavior. I would love to hear your story. Go to psychologyinseattle.com, click the Contact Us page, email me there. I read every single email, and I try to respond to every email as well. Let me know what you think. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.